maybe there's a different train I need to get on. Maybe there's a different subway that's going to come by here in a second. It's going to take me to a different location. Maybe I've been on the wrong train. Like let's get on the right train, headed to a different location, and be like, this is where I wanted to go. This is the results I wanted to see. This is the person I wanted to be.
Welcome back, everybody, to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire people to live at the pinnacle of their ability and purpose. As always, I'm Matt Bonelli. He's Garrett Fry. And gosh, we are so excited that you guys are joining us today. If this is your first time listening to Life at 10 Tenths, welcome. Gosh, we're so excited to have you. And it very much well be, Garrett, could be somebody's first time because this podcast is growing and growing and growing every single day. And that's all thanks to the people who are listening and sharing it. So we appreciate you. If you haven't joined our community yet and you're listening and you're like, is there more? There is more. There's a lot more. And if you go to lifeat10tenths.com, you can learn more about what the community is, what the 11 Circle is, which is our premium membership, where you get access to live coaching, success lab workshops, co-working, what do we call it? Co-working events?
Co-working session.
Co-working sessions.
Yeah,
there's Garrett.
There's some breakdowns in there, but all these are designed to help you operate at the highest level you can operate at, to eliminate excuses, to show up for yourself. Matt and I created this as a way to help all of you be the best you can be, and to also do it with a community form behind you. So you're not on your own. And that's why I love how this whole thing is playing out, how it's building out, is that you don't have to be on your own. And a lot of people sign up for a coach and they get that coach and they have that one coach that works with them. And you're going to get the element of that, but you also get the element of all these people that are, falling into the same philosophy and the same mindset. And it's cool. It's fun to see it grow out here, Matt, and excited to see it keep going.
It is really cool. And at the time of this podcast, this episode coming out just yesterday, we had Matthew Ferrara leading the Success Lab workshop, which, how cool is it that we get to bring in these incredible people, these thought leaders, people like him, to help bring a new perspective into the community as well. So if you guys are looking for, the latest and greatest, or just people who are, been in this industry for so long, who have incredible values and things to share, you can learn from them right inside our community, which is incredible. And so big thank you to Matthew for leading that yesterday, because that was, well, I know it will be at the time of we're recording this, but at the time of this release, it was amazing.
Here's why I know it's going to be amazing. Matthew is like the real deal when it comes to the genuine good people that I know are out there in the world. Matthew's like the pinnacle of like, yep, there's one of them right there. Like I've been bantering with him on social media and stuff. And I'm like, he's just a nice guy that just
so
comes
genuine
from the good place. And so grateful that he's taken the time to be with us. Those are part of our success labs inside the community. So as Matt just said, so with that being said, anything else?
No, I mean, actually, I think that's a good segue into, because if you go back a couple of episodes to listen to our interview with him, he mentioned his always inspiring tag and how that started to change the way he operated, and getting into our topic today, which is, a lot of times when things get challenging, we look at the outside environment first and we start to say, well, what's going wrong with the market? What's going wrong with the economy? What's going wrong with this?
Oh, Matt, it's my office. It's my office.
Yeah.
It's my manager.
Yeah. When it's like, well, what's going on with me? Like, let's look in. And so let's dive on into this, Garrett. You actually put this topic on our list to go over. So I hand it over to you.
Well, and as we've talked about before, Matt, a lot of these topics come out of the people that we're coaching. And as we are coaching people and we're watching people have tremendous success, as well as people that are really fighting through the mud. Every once in a while, Matt, I'm sure you've experienced this with me, is you find that client that they want to grow so badly, but they've got like all this baggage with them. If you can imagine them like with 10 trunks of baggage that they're just dragging along with them. And you're like, why aren't you running? And they're like, do you realize how heavy these are? Like, I got to pull all these things with me. And it's like, let go of them. Like, stop blaming everything around you for why you can't be successful right now. And let's lean into like, what do you have control over? And sometimes your control is letting go. I'm in the process of that right now. I mean, part of this topic, the reason it came up for me is I'm in a growth pattern right now. And there's a lot of stuff in my world. I'm like, let go of that, let go of this, let go of that. I can't let that be part of my life right now. And where are we going? And this is where, Matt, you're kind of a grounding source for me. My wife is a grounding source of like kind of saying, okay, let's get our minds straight. Let's focus on where we're going, what we're building, what we're doing. But it's so easy to get caught in the but this, but that, but this situation. Let's look back at the last 10 years. Let's look back at this. And then we anchor ourselves in and we wonder why we're stuck. And we see it happen all the time.
Oh yeah. Well, and I think it's natural. I think we do this, and I'm right now, like my phase of working with this is how I accept or return other people's energies. Right. When I'm like, oh man, I feel bad today, and that person made me feel bad. It's like my 2.5-year-old likes to say,
that sounds a little bit like a 5-year-old.
when I say something that they don't like, and it's like, I get, you hurt my feelings. It's like, because I told you couldn't have chocolate. Like, this seems very unfair. Like, how can I be responsible for that feeling, right? And so as I'm also learning, like, okay, how can I better channel my energies when something outside? And I think it's easy from a human nature perspective to blame the outside environment because we know we can't control it. And since we can't, it gives us comfort in saying, okay, well, it's nothing that I can do. Right? It releases the responsibility from us, which makes us feel more comfortable. But what helps us grow is accepting the responsibility, doing the other thing, and saying, well, how am I choosing to bring whatever that outside is into my energy or in my business, right? Like, we take a look at, let's just talk about transaction volume for a second, Garrett, right? Transaction volume from 22 to 23, big dip, right? Big dip. And right now in 24, we're basically looking, at least in the markets that I've looked at stats on, about the same volume. So last year, I think it was 4.1 million nationwide, something like that.
That's what it was.
Let's say we'll be about the same this year, which is 2 years in a row of really low numbers of transactions. And people say, well, that's just the market, right? But some people have businesses that are thriving
to the point that I've even had people that their businesses are thriving so well that they're like, I feel bad talking about it in my office because there are other agents that are having they're literally struggling through this marketplace. And they're like, I don't want to mention it because I just feel bad saying that I've got all these things going on and all this business happening. It's not evenly distributed out there right now, but it's very easy to look at the market and go, but this is what, and I think, Matt, well, I know this. We surround ourselves with people that will justify our belief system. So, when we get into that mindset of, oh, this is a bad market, reports this, my manager just gave me reports, transactions are way down. Your transactions are down. Yours too. Oh my gosh, we're all in this together. Okay, let's have a big pity party together about why the deals are down right now and why we're not going to be successful. And this is a tough year. I love the people that step outside of that group. By the way, you can all do it. You can all step outside that group and say, is this reality or is this my fabricated reality that I've, formulated here to make myself feel normal? Because everybody wants to feel normal. What have I fabricated here? And is it really the truth? Am I looking for the things that support this thing that I think is the truth? Maybe there's another reality. And that's the fun part, is to step off the side and say, well, what am I maybe missing? And some of those things that you're missing is when you're stuck in that group, you can't see them. You really need to have a pattern break or something that makes you step outside of that role. And sometimes it's taking a producer out to lunch and being like, hey, can I just pick your brain about what's working for you in this marketplace right now? Sometimes just that alone, sometimes going to a conference and learning from somebody who is making it happen right now and step back and go, okay, is there anything I can take away from their their perspective, their experience, their life that they're living right now, where you can go like, oh, I was missing that. That's what I needed to hear right now.
Yeah. Well, and take that, like, okay, transaction volume's down. Okay. To pull something from Gary Vee, he was in the habit of doing this for a while. He would just be like, and
yep.
What are you going to do about it? Right? Like, people would come up to him and say, but Gary, you don't understand. Like, I'm this, I'm that, or this thing is happening. And he goes, and because we can, if we're objective about it, something like the transaction volume, it's like, okay, there's fewer people buying and selling homes in terms of closed deals. Great. What do I want to do about it? Now let's look internally. I don't think there's a problem looking at the external environment to understand the playing field, but don't look at it for the excuses. Because if you look at yourself, then you say, well, what can I do? Because that's the only thing you can control is, how do I want to differentiate my marketing? Is there different segments of people in my database that I need to be communicating with? Those are things that you can control, which can change your outcome regardless of the external environment.
Well, and I think, Matt, as we want to change the things that maybe we're not liking the results of right now. And then, by the way, we're talking business. You said transactions, but I mean, we can focus on health with this also.
For sure.
Is that there's a lot of people that look at their health routines. I was just coaching somebody yesterday. We were talking about that they're not at the health level that they want to be at right now. And it was really interesting in talking to her because a lot of, I would say, baggage came up. History from the past, things and experiences that she might have had that you could tell made her say, when I was at my peak physical feeling health, like looking body-wise health, there was also these other things that I had that weren't healthy. I wasn't treating myself the best. I wasn't taking the best care of myself. And it was interesting to hear her say, I don't want to go back there again because there's all this other baggage that came with it. And it took a long time of saying, let's step off. Like, can you be that healthy and do that stuff and not have that other stuff come with you? And I think that there's this time that you need to step off to the side a little bit. I think that's like Gary Vee, as you were just saying, and like that's your moment to like get off the train and go like, okay, and is over here on the platform. Let's take a look here and say, maybe there's a different train I need to get on. Maybe there's a different subway that's going to come by here in a second. It's going to take me to a different location. Maybe I've been on the wrong train. Like let's get on the right train, headed to a different location, and be like, this is where I wanted to go. This is the results I wanted to see. This is the person I wanted to be. But we need to step off the side. We need to look at it from a different perspective. And that's why I say, who are you surrounding yourself? What books are you reading? What podcasts are you listening to? Like, who are you surrounding yourself? What communities are you involved in? Not to say you should come join ours, but you should. Who are you hanging around? Because that whole element will change your perspective of what we call reality. Matt and I have done entire podcasts, which you probably do another one right now, or in the very near future, on what truly is reality and what are we buying into?
Yeah. Oh man, I think the stepping off the train, I mean, at some point you're going to have to look at yourself, right? You can go through everything. And even if you're blaming your old self, like, you got to look at your current self and decide. And I think this is one of the harder parts of this process, because you're going to be battling your non-conscious, is making a choice to make a change. You talk about surrounding yourself with people. It's like, sometimes that's hard, because you can look at the people around you and be like, I have great friends, but I want to go here and they don't want to. And that's a hard thing to figure out. Like, what does that mean? Like, where do I need to choose to spend my time then? But if you do look internally at yourself and you really kind of dig deep a little bit, you're going to be able to say, well, but this is where I want to go. And it's not that you have to do anything to change an external environment in terms of ridding yourselves of things. In fact, in Stuart Emery's Mastery, which is a popular piece that we talked a lot about on our prior podcast and our prior venture, he says, he's talking about removing everything in your environment that's limiting. And he says, one way is to surround yourself. So the first thing he mentions in terms of how you can eliminate the things from your environment that are bringing you down is to add people who ask more of you than you do, right? So instead of always blaming the environment, and I kind of think about it from a profitability on a business, Garrett. You can reduce your expenses only so much. Now, it's important to be wise in how you spend, but you can only reduce your expenses so much. I mean, to zero, I guess you could, but your revenue is unlimited. You can always add more great things. And so you can eliminate all the bad stuff, but if you don't add the good stuff in, and the only way you can add the good stuff in is by looking at yourself and saying, what habits do I want to do? What people do I want to be around? And how am I going to now commit to doing those things regardless of what's happening out there? Because we're starting to hear this too, Garrett, from a personal and business perspective of like, well, we don't know what's going to happen in November. The election's coming and all of these things. And I just don't know what's going to happen. So I'm just going to freeze. And it's like, gosh, you have so much control of how, because, and I apologize for the ramble a bit here, but it just made me think of too, I've had several people say the energy around politics right now is impacting me. And I get it. Believe me, I get it. But you get to decide whether that energy you receive or you reject and send back to who's ever sending it.
Yeah, I've seen political energy tear down entire marketplaces, and it's funny. There are certain cities. I'm not going to point you out right now. There are certain cities that, when political events have happened in the past, I've watched the entire marketplace come to a screeching halt. And they're like, oh, the market's failing. Everything's scary right now. I'm like, you're the only one. Well, there's maybe 2 or 3 others, but the rest of the country is doing okay. Like, they're moving along. They're past this. They're done. They're gone. And that collective energy just makes it's like a big wet blanket being thrown over the marketplace. And everybody's like, oh, okay. This is what we're at right now. The world, all these complaints. And it's just like, okay, stop for a second. Let's go. Let's keep moving here. So Matt, I think it is tough. I mean, when we talk about who we're surrounding ourselves with, and I like your financial part that you brought into that for a second of like, you can only eliminate so much because, if I were to look at food, for example, for somebody who's overeating and putting on weight and making those types of choices around their health environment, you can cut all food out. Like that is an option. You can say, look, you know what? I'm going to lose some weight. I'm just not going to eat anymore. Like, no calories going in. I'll drink water.
You'll lose weight.
But I'm just going to move it. You will lose weight. Like, it's guaranteed, proven fact. You will lose weight. Is it healthy? Is it what you want to be doing? Is it going to make you be the person that you truly want to be in the long term? Is there a certain point that your body goes, we ain't functioning anymore? Like, certain systems start to break down to the point of complete failure. In a business too, you can cut back all the expenses going, we're just going to save money by doing this and save our way all the way into the grave in our business. And it's like, well, that's not really the way that we want to do this. So I think like, this is where, again, taking that step off the side and saying, okay, let's look at where we're at. Let's look at what we've been doing. Let's look at who we're surrounding ourselves with. If it's our diet, let's look at the food that we're putting into our body. Is that the food that gives us the outcome that we want to have? Is there better food choices we could be making? What would they look like? Make a list of them. Figure that out. If it's marketing for your business and the image that you want to have and the person you want to be, if it's like, well, I'm really heavy with buyers and I wish I had more listings right now. Is it the marketplace that's driving in so many buyers and not giving you listings? Or is it what you are putting out that's attracting in these things that maybe you need to take a look at and say, okay, I'm actually creating way more of these results than I thought I was. Matt, I've had more people when they start talking about that they're heavy loaded in listings or heavy loaded in buyers, all I have to ask them is, can you tell me about your marketplace right now? And they start unloading on me about their perception of it as a buyer's agent. And I'm like, well, that's really interesting. Like, everything you just gave me and explaining me the marketplace is from your perception of helping buyers through the marketplace. And you wonder why you're working with so many buyers. How many times do you have that conversation with people all the way around the world? Like, what would you say if you were approaching it from a listing side? And they're like, well, I don't like, all of a sudden you can see them have to, like, because it's not a normal way they approach it. And it's very different words, it's very different energy, but at the end of the day, it'll produce different results. And this is why we have way more power than we think, but we put the blame on everything so fast.
That's a very strong recognition of the internal energy, because when we say look at yourself, like that exact scenario you just went through, people will say, well, how did I lose the listing? I did everything right. The feedback was, hey, we think you're great. You have a great process. It's like, I don't understand. It's like, but if you have that little bit of just kind of, and in this case, I don't want to say negative energy, but if you're talking to a seller and explaining the market from a buyer's perspective, you're talking about the challenges and all of these things. And a seller does not want to hear that, right? Now, they need to hear it if that's the truth of the marketplace for them. You don't want to not tell them what's going on. But if they're getting this feeling like, man, I just feel like maybe Garrett's doesn't have, he doesn't believe it can be done. He's got great systems, loved his pitch. He's a great guy, but it just seems like John over here is super pumped and is like telling us like, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to go with John. Right. And that energy becomes so important. So I think that's a very key identifier, is like, how do we bring this internally, even if the external environment feels like it's crazy? And a person that comes to mind is Viktor Frankl on this one. Famous psychologist, Holocaust survivor. I mean, when you think about anything that's his book, people who talk about him, people who had the opportunity to engage with him, he's going through the worst of the worst, during World War II here, and seeing the worst of the worst. And he changed his internal energy to be, how can I serve the people around me right now? Even though we're all here, prisoners and all this, how can I serve these people? How can I bring positivity to this environment here? Because I know that's how I'm going to survive through this. And man, did he ever. And that internal energy can make an incredible difference on your personal reality and what happens outside of you.
So the book is Man's Search for Meaning. And it is one of the more powerful books, Matt, that I've ever read. It was one of those that I believe it was Ryan Holiday that I was listening to that recommended that book. And if any of you want a great reading list, go look at Ryan Holiday's reading list, because he has so many incredible books that he has put on his list. But you want to talk about mindset and your perspective, is just as you were saying, Matt. This is a way to listen to somebody's story that you can't even imagine what happened and what they went through. There's no way to fully grasp what was going on and how he put himself into a mindset of that he's going to make it through this. Make it through this time. And it's the power that we have within ourselves to create what we want to create, to see what we want to see, is absolutely amazing. And this is where, again, I felt this was a great topic to lean into today. I felt this was something that we are watching with a lot of people out there right now that are taking the situation of this marketplace and they're not taking ownership of it. And they're kind of sitting back and saying, yeah, this is kind of what this is. Now, anybody who's reaching out for coaching, Matt, I find is somebody that's saying, okay, I'm ready to see something different. I'm ready to take a look at this from a different angle. Which I love the people that we get to work with, because they are taking this from a, like, I'm not willing to accept this over here right now. But when I'm watching them say, it's interesting to see the dichotomy starting to, separate inside of our office place of what others are seeing to what I'm seeing right now. And the weird part is it's making those people that are having the successes sometimes even question their own success of like, is what I'm doing real, or like, is their reality real? Like what is the truth here? And I keep telling people, I've been saying this for a long time now. I've never seen a better relationship type marketplace ever. The business is flowing to relationships, trust, and professionalism. And I look at people saying, but what about the upcoming election? And oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And I look at it again and I go, that's a prime example of more confusion, more, what do we do? How do we handle this? We need to sell, we need to buy. And hey, you know what? The way I look at it is they're going to turn to the people they know, the people they're comfortable with, the people that are their professionals, the people that are in relationships with them, and say, how can you help me?
Yeah.
How can you help me get from point A to point B? I need your help. I need your guidance. That is the potential of the marketplace that we've been watching and is going to continue to happen here. So amazing opportunities, but you got to be willing to see them. And sometimes you need to get off the train to be able to see them.
I totally agree, and so you got to look internally, ask not what the market can do for you, ask what you can do for the market. What do you need to change? If you're sitting there today and you're thinking, gosh, I'm struggling with this in my business or this in my personal life, this in my relationship. Don't ask, what can this other person do? What can this client do? What can the industry do? Right? What can you do? What can you do consistently? What new habit do you want to form? What new action are you going to take to change your life? Because the only person who can change your life is you.
And I'll add one little piece into this, because as we look around and as we surround ourselves, we talked a lot on this episode so far, Matt, about who are we surrounding ourselves with, the people that we're putting ourselves around. We all know the people in our world that sometimes we will give a lot of credit to how they make us feel, how they make us show up, why we get results because of what they're doing around us. And I want to encourage you to step off to the side of that one too, and take a look at, is that really truly what they're trying to do? Or is that how I'm interpreting what they're doing and the energy that they're bringing to the table? This is an endless process that you can do to help you find the results that you want to find and the reality that you want to create for yourself. So Matt, I really appreciate you going down this route with me today, and
thank you, man,
and kicking this around. Is there anything else we want to add into this?
I think there's always more we can add in, but we'll save that for another episode.
Yeah. Well, I want to just tell everybody how much we appreciate you tuning in to Life at 1010's podcast. If you want to go check out more of what we are offering and bonus episodes and materials and live coaching and group sessions that we're doing, go check out Life at 1010s. There's an amazing community of people growing there right now. We're getting the feedback I'm getting from people is just amazing, Matt. Like I'm really having the best conversations in there. So that's available to all of you. And of course, we're going to have more podcasts here coming out. So we'll keep episodes flowing for you guys. And we appreciate you. And Matt, I appreciate you tons, sir.
Appreciate you. Catch you on the next one, guys.
All right, everybody, have an amazing day.